Regular Show is an animated series that started airing in 2010. At that time, Cartoon Network was in its golden age. Alongside Regular Show, there were legendary cartoons like Adventure Time and Gumball. I can easily say that Regular Show is one of the most successful cartoons I've ever watched. The series ran for 8 seasons and concluded in 2017. In this video, I will tell you the story of Regular Show from start to finish in all its details. Before we get into our video, if you enjoy it and would like to support our small but high growth potential channel, you can take just 2 seconds to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all in advance. Now, let's get into our video. 500 years ago, we see Skip's life. We watch the times before Skips was called Skips and even before he became immortal. Back then, he was a high school student attending the same school as magical characters. There, he falls in love with a girl named Mona. After hanging out together, they go to a prom. At the prom, an evil character named Clorgbane fights with Skips. Skip's friends give him the fists of justice, and during this fight, Mona dies. Skips punches Clorgbane into space. Years later, these babies call Skips to them and tell him that Clorgbane will return to Earth. They grant him immortality. They also ask him to choose a new name. Skips chooses the name Skips because he and Mona used to skip together. 100 years ago from today, Mr. Maillard, the founder of the park, sees a meteor coming from space while collecting meteors during his youth. From this meteor emerges a big-headed baby. Mr. Maillard names the baby Pops because of his elderly appearance. Later, Mr. Maillard notices the parchment in his hand and finds the story of the Kranis brothers. Despite this, Mr. Maillard raises Pops as a normal child. However, while Pops is looking into space with a telescope, he notices a pink planet and thus encounters his own planet, Lollyland, for the first time. 20 years ago from today, we see the story of Muscle Man. In the times when he was not yet muscular, his father used to take him to gyms. One day, when his father was stuck under a weight, Muscle Man wanted to help him, and in doing so, his muscles emerged, surprising everyone. After this, he participated in bodybuilding tournaments. However, he later realized that he did not enjoy these events and returned to one of his favorite hobbies, eating. This way, he started participating in eating competitions and lost all his muscles. The story of how Muscle Man met his best friend High Five Ghost dates back to high school. Before High Five Ghost arrived, Muscle Man was the coolest kid in school. However, after High Five Ghost came to the school, things changed and everyone started talking about him. Because of this, Muscle Man became jealous and started bullying him. One day, out of jealousy, they decided to have a car race. However, the race didn't go as planned. Muscle Man lost control of the steering wheel. As they headed toward a large rock, they jumped out of the car to escape the crash. Before Muscle Man could fall into a pit, High Five Ghost saved him, and thus they became best friends. When it comes to Benson, he actually had a difficult childhood. He always experienced yelling and fights during his childhood. His father taught him how to be angry, and he also had love problems as he grew up. Because of this, he would eat spicy wings to the point of getting drunk. He often regrets ruining his relationships by doing stupid things. Additionally, Benson was a world champion in stick hockey and a drummer. He used to perform in concerts but was fired and replaced by a machine. After being humiliated on a game show, he lost his hair. However, he later became the manager of the park and loves doing this job. Now we move on to Mordecai and Rigby. They have been together since they were very young. Rigby constantly complains about his family because he's short and his brother in the family is taller than him. Because of this, he has distanced himself from his family and spends all his time with Mordecai. They go through all schools together and do everything together. However, they need to go to college and Rigby's grades are not good enough. Although they both applied to the same college, Rigby was not accepted. When Mordecai looks at his application, he sees that he was accepted and becomes worried. To avoid being separated from his only friend in life, Rigby changes the letter to make it look like Mordecai was not accepted. When Mordecai comes home and sees this, he is sad, but Rigby's plan has worked. Now they can be together forever. They start looking for jobs because they are unemployed and have failed at most jobs. Eventually, they find a job at the park, go for an interview, and that's how Mordecai and Rigby get a job at the park, and their adventures begin. In the present day, we watch the adventures and love stories of Mordecai and Rigby. In the first episode, they find a device called the Power that can grant any wish they want. We then follow Mordecai's relationship with Margaret. Although Mordecai likes her, he cannot tell Margaret for a long time. More interesting events also occur. Rigby loses to Skips in an arm wrestling match and dies, but later Skips arm wrestles death and wins, bringing Rigby back to life. In another episode, Mordecai and Rigby encounter some baby ducks and a man appears who wants to steal them. However, the baby ducks merge into a giant duck and kill him. In another episode, they go to an amusement center to get a dice keychain for Pops' birthday and try to win the dice keychain. However, the robot animals come to life and steal the dice, claiming they contain real diamonds and escape. At the end of the episode, the robots are blown up by the FBI. In another episode, Mordecai and Rigby try a new arcade game at the cafe and break the world record. This catches the attention of the former record holder Garrett Bobby Ferguson, who competes with them. In the end, Mordecai and Rigby win with their skills and blow him up. Many different and chaotic events like these happen. Additionally, Mordecai's attempts to advance his relationship with Margaret are notable. Until one episode where Mordecai goes to the cafe where Margaret works and sees that she has received a marriage proposal, he runs away and falls into depression, not even leaving his room. Rigby tries to find him a girlfriend and sets up a date online. Many girls come, but Mordecai shows no interest in any of them. Then a girl named CJ arrives and they get along very well. Mordecai invites her to the cinema. This helps Mordecai come out of his depression. He then gathers his courage and goes to Margaret's cafe, where he learns that Margaret did not receive a marriage proposal. He finds out that the person was actually Margaret's cousin and feels relieved. He then asks Margaret to go to the cinema, but while this is happening, CJ overhears everything. She gets angry at him for what she heard and storms off, destroying everything in her path. In the final season, a major event unfolds as a man blows up the entire park, but Mordecai and Rigby manage to escape at the last moment by using a time machine. During this time, a new worker comes to the park and observes the events. In the future, the park employees do not recognize Mordecai and Rigby, not even Skips remembers them. Later, Skip somehow remembers and they learn that the park employees' minds have been brainwashed. They come together to save the park members and successfully restore their consciousness. The villain working at the park is caught while trying to open a portal. Benson is also collaborating with the villain, and unfortunately the team is captured. The villain brings back all the villains Mordecai and Rigby encountered in the past. During this time, it is revealed that the villain is Garrett Bobby Ferguson, who Mordecai and Rigby blew up in previous episodes. A great battle breaks out between the two sides. Mordecai and Rigby try to convince Benson and make him remember their old memories. In the end, Benson also remembers and joins the battle with his team. Mordecai and Rigby collect signatures from all the park employees, and the final signature from the new member Thomas shows that they can take back the park. In the end, Thomas tricks the villains, signs the paper, blows them up, and everyone accepts Thomas into the park. In the meantime, Mordecai manages to maintain his relationship with Margaret. He meets her father and gets his approval. Mordecai decides to ask Margaret out and they go on a date. Of course, everything starts to go wrong that day. The robot bear from previous episodes has printed fake coupons and is wanted by the FBI. A trap is set for him at the restaurant and a fight breaks out. In the midst of this chaos, Mordecai manages to ask Margaret out. However, Margaret tells him that she has been accepted to university and will be going there, then runs away crying. This leaves Mordecai with an unforgettable sadness. In the following episodes, we see Mordecai trying to forget Margaret and meeting a masked girl at a New Year's party with whom he gets along very well. Later, he realizes that it is his ex-girlfriend CJ. In the subsequent episodes, Mordecai and CJ get closer. They face off in a volleyball tournament, and after these events, Mordecai forgets Margaret and starts a relationship with CJ. They even take their relationship to the next level by meeting each other's families. This is the first time we see Mordecai's family. Also, Rigby and Eileen develop a good relationship. In the next episode, we encounter a serious incident, as it turns out that Thomas is a Russian agent. One night, Rigby wakes up and sees Thomas fighting American agents as a ninja. Thomas knocks him out. In the morning, Rigby tries to tell everyone that Thomas is an agent, but no one believes him. Meanwhile, Rigby discovers new secret places, and Benson unknowingly falls in love with a Russian agent. However, Thomas soon reveals his true identity and declares that he is an agent. The reason is that parks in Russia are very bad, so they wanted to copy American parks and move the park to Russia. Thomas starts moving the park with secret rockets he has placed over the months. Despite a fight, they can't defeat the agents. Later, Thomas recalls the good times he had with them and realizes that they don't deserve this. So he decides not to betray them, but the other agent opposes this and they fight. Eventually, they return the park to its original place and Thomas leaves, never to be seen again. In another episode, it's Christmas and everyone is celebrating. Mordecai goes to a Christmas party with his girlfriend CJ, where they find Margaret, who Mordecai hasn't seen for a long time. Since Mordecai had a hard time forgetting Margaret, he tries to avoid her but fails. Eventually, he has an emotional conversation with Margaret and accidentally kisses her in front of CJ. Angered, CJ leaves immediately. Mordecai learns that Margaret has returned to the city indefinitely, making their relationship awkward. Margaret brings an unknown man with her, claiming he is her boyfriend to make Mordecai think there is no love between them. CJ eventually understands what's going on and her trust in Mordecai is almost gone. However, everything changes at Muscle Man's wedding. Mordecai takes the stage knowing he needs to tell the truth. He declares in front of everyone that he loves CJ less than Margaret, leading to a complete breakup with CJ, who then disappears from the series. Following this, Mordecai falls into a brief depression and grows a beard, but Rigby helps him out of it. In the final season, scientists want to conduct research in the park and pay a lot of money to the park's owner. Benson uses his commando knowledge to infiltrate the park and learns the scientists' plans, discovering that they intend to move the park to space. A scientist installs a button in the park and tells the workers not to press it. Benson falls in love with a scientist in the park named Pam. Later, Mr. Maillard reveals Pop's true identity, explaining that he is an alien. After this revelation, Pops begins to activate his powers and undergoes training. The park employees decide together to press the button, launching them into space. There, they discover thousands of parks, all involved in a war. They are told that they are special and have a mission. During this time, Pops' powers go out of control, becoming extremely powerful. His brother, Anti-Pops, learns of his location and attacks them, but they manage to escape. Later, Pops discovers Mr. Maillard's tapes and begins to learn about his life story. He also starts training with Master Earl and receives valuable information. Pops prepares to fight Anti-Pops, but he is reluctant because he is against violence and fears that all his friends will perish. Mordecai and Rigby come up with an idea. They call upon their Blu-ray friends to immortalize all their memories on a DVD. Despite this, Pops still doesn't want to fight. He even attempts to make peace with Anti-Pops, but Anti-Pops knocks his cake to the ground and tries to kill him. Master Earl arrives just in time to save him, but is ultimately killed by Anti-Pops. Pops and his friends manage to escape. Pops and his friends finally arrive at Lollyland, the lollipop planet, with the park. This also explains why Pops always gave lollipops instead of money. There, they encounter Pops' ancestors, who have evolved over time, with Pops being the final form, representing pure goodness. In contrast, Anti-Pops embodies pure evil. Although Mordecai and Rigby believe they can change the outcome this time, it is revealed that the explosion has occurred 30 times before, each time leading to the same result. When Anti-Pops arrives, Pops is finally forced to fight, leading to an epic battle. During this final battle, many characters from previous episodes come to help, including the Baby Ducks. However, Anti-Pops proves to be much stronger and begins to destroy Lollyland. As all the familiar characters gradually vanish, Mordecai and Rigby manage to reset time, returning to the first episode. Everything starts anew, but Rigby remembers everything. Although Mordecai is initially skeptical, he finds the box where they stored their memories and recalls everything upon touching it. Using the power, they transport themselves to the future, encountering the ongoing battle. Pops, believing everyone to be dead, is initially distraught. But upon seeing Mordecai and Rigby, he controls his anger and hugs Anti-Pops. Unable to reciprocate, Anti-Pops is taken aback as Pops drags them both into the sun, sacrificing himself. In the end, everyone returns to Earth as heroes who saved the world. They rush to their loved ones, and statues of Mr. Maillard and Pops are erected in the park's center. Mordecai and Rigby bid farewell and finally part ways. 25 years later, in the present day, Mordecai has pursued a career in art and become a painter. He meets and marries a girl. Rigby has married Eileen. Benson is finally together with Pam and continues to manage the park with new workers. Muscleman is enjoying life with his numerous children. In the final scene, Mordecai and Rigby reunite 25 years later. They reminisce about old times and have fun, bringing the series to a wonderful conclusion. And that's how I've briefly summarized the legendary story of Regular Show for you. I'd love to hear about your favorite Regular Show character in the comments. See you in the next videos. Goodbye!